Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. It is continuing this month of January of 2021, and I am joined by one of my favorite newest Twitch streamers that I have had the pleasure of getting to hang out with in the chat and watch him and his partner play video games. And I am joined with Dusty of R Radiant Gaming. How are you doing today, Dusty?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm super excited to have you on. Half of the R Radiant Gaming duo. Ashley is not here with us, but if you want to see her, make sure to check out the Twitch streams because she is the other half of
the better half.
the better half. I won't say it, but I'll let you say it.
Yeah, she's definitely the better half. I'm definitely the worst half.
I was lucky enough to stumble across your Twitch stream because you and I frequent several of other Twitch streamers, whether it be Joshua of Hyrule Gaming Group or Rosie, who we kind of have like that same circle that we sometimes hang out in. And I know that they had both recommended your channel, so I got to hang out and watch you and Ashley play some video games, and I really enjoyed your energy and dynamic. And it's really fun to have. And it's not something I often see is a two-person video game stream, honestly, like in the same room.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome because whenever we first started, you didn't expect, to have that great community. At least I didn't, because I hadn't really watched Twitch that much. Ashley had watched it more than I did. And I would come home and she would be watching Simply Press Start, and I would be like, wait, so if you say something to her, like she talks back to you and she's like, yeah, like watch this. And like she would say something. I'm like, what in the world? This is nuts. And then so, we got some money and we ended up buying our own streaming setup. And then, like you said, hopped into Hyrule Gaming Group, kind of seen how things were and seen like, wow, this is pretty cool. People literally like video games and they like being nice. And it's, amazing to just hop in and just hang out and chill somewhere that you get time to just spend with other people, because people need people. And it's pretty crazy. Like, to me, I don't know, I know it's 2021 and being able to be there, even though it's all this technology, it still blows my mind being able to play video games and talk with people and build a community and just have fun, essentially. Something we definitely need.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that I was shocked, especially when I started getting into like watching people on Twitch about 2 years ago at this point. It was like, I don't really get it. Like, I'm going to watch somebody play a video game, but then I realized I am not good at certain video games. I will never play those video games. And it's nice to watch somebody play them and me get to watch them actually play it well. And I get to have that experience.
It's funny that you say that too, because like we really don't play video games well. And that was kind of my main concern whenever we started streaming. I was like, Ashley, I can't even beat Alana on like Breath of the Wild. How are we supposed to stream? So one thing I wanted to do, and one thing definitely she wanted to do as well, was we wanted to be able to build a community to where we could literally just have fun with people and not make it about being good at games or like, getting the dubs on Fortnite or whatever. We just wanted to have fun with people. And I think that's probably the best part about it for us.
That's awesome. And it's something we're going to talk about later on in the episode. I want to start with, I'm going to call it, there's a pre-Ashley phase of your life and a post-Ashley phase of your life. and you're bringing something from the pre-Ashley phase, which is your love of Marvel superheroes. Like that was before Ashley.
Yes.
How did you first get into Marvel? Like, was it comic books? Was it the animated shows? Was it the movies? Like, where did you find your start in that world?
So the pre-Dusty phase I was more into like football, and I played some video games like Forza and Madden and stuff, but it wasn't until I had my wisdom teeth cut out, I think, was whenever I first got into superheroes. I was in 10th grade, maybe 9th grade. I had my wisdom teeth cut out. I was at home for a week, and I remember watching every MCU movie ever made, and that's really where it all started. And I was like, wait, there's comic books for these too. So then I started buying Spider-Man comic books because I kind of liked him as a kid. But honestly, I felt like growing up in Southern West Virginia, like it was kind of hard to like that kind of stuff because like if you weren't into hunting and stuff like that, like it was kind of like looked down upon.
Hmm.
I guess maybe in just my circle of friends, I'm not for sure, but I was kind of like reading comics and going to football practice and also liking this, but also kind of like superheroes too. So that's kind of where it all started. And then I started talking to Ashley, and she actually started liking me because I remember talking to her about Nova like a lot. And she said that's wherever she started liking me was because I talked about Nova all the time, and she thought that was the coolest thing. And then she was always into Final Fantasy and stuff. So that kind of is where we hit it off. Was I was like, oh my gosh, there's a girl that likes stuff that I like. So it was pretty cool seeing that way.
Awesome. So your first Marvel exposure was really like the MCU movies to begin with.
Yeah, it was the MCU movies. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. They were my favorite, like by far. The cosmic MCU is probably my favorite, and the cosmic Marvel universe is definitely my favorite by far.
I totally agree. Like I got my start like way back in let me date myself here. Like 90 or 91 was when I first picked up like my first Marvel comics from like a gas station spinner rack. Like I picked up like Final or Fantasy or Final. Oh my gosh, I picked up Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer, and then I really got into like the New Warriors, and Nova was a part of that team for most of their run. So like that's where my love of Nova comes from. But it's real interesting. Like you say that you love the cosmic Marvel, and I love the cosmic Marvel. In fact, when you told me that you love Nova, I sent you over all of the Annihilation run that I absolutely enjoy.
Yeah, that's awesome too. It's kind of funny too, like thinking back, like you said, you picked up your first comic at a gas station. So where I grew up in Southern West Virginia, the closest comic book store to where you could even pick up a comic was about 45 minutes to an hour away. And I remember and I had one friend in school. We had both just got our license. He was a little older than me. And we took off one day in my old 1991 Chevrolet to this said comic book store. And on our way back, after we had spent, a good $50, $60 on comics, my car broke down. And we had literally pulled off on the side of the road and waited there for like 2 or 3 hours, all for comics. And it was like a 7, 8 hour day just for us to pick up some graphic novels. And that's one thing that I remember, like, especially growing up, like in Southern West Virginia, where this stuff wasn't as prevalent as other places, I guess.
That's always something like that I don't think a lot of people think of, especially depending on the age. If they're and I'm not sure like with West Virginia about like internet access as far as it being like more readily available, depending on where you're growing up. But like even 10 or so years ago, you don't have a lot of these like accessibility downloading comics to the computer at this point, or being able to like stream things. It's really just in the recent years where you're able to start doing like comicsology, or getting like being able to look at comics online and get really exposed to it.
So I remember whenever Comixology, I don't know, it wasn't when it first came out, but I remember whenever I first found it, I was like, what, you can read comics on your phone? This is crazy. And there's free ones on here. This is nuts. Because to me, like, that wasn't even an option because I didn't even think about it. Because Ashley, you'll hear her talk about it sometimes, where she grew up, she didn't get off of dial-up internet until she was like in middle or high school. So like this was well whenever internet was taking off and like rolling really well. She was still on dial-up internet, which is hilarious to think back to. She actually was talking about it the other day in one of our friends' streams and was like, "So where I grew up was a place of dial-up internet." And everybody was like, wait, what? That's crazy. But that was literally the way it was. We were 10 to 20 years behind everybody, it seemed. And honestly, the thought of like reading comics online just never even crossed my mind.
And now here it is.
Yeah, it's
Magic.
right at the tips of your fingers. If you want to download anything, you can download it.
So with your love of Marvel, especially starting with at least the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with the number of movies that are out there, is Guardians your favorite, or is there another movie that you would be like, this is my favorite movie?
I think Guardians is probably my favorite still. So like the whole Avengers series obviously is incredible, and Infinity War and Endgame definitely top tier. But I feel like the nostalgia and the excitement. I still remember being in high school, like reading about Guardians 1 coming out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it has Chris Pratt in it. Oh my gosh, it has Dave Bautista in it. Oh my goodness, it has Vin Diesel. It has Bradley Cooper. I'm like, I was going nuts in high school, like, because that was really the epitome of when it all started. Was after that time, I was really diving deep into it and reading into it and watching YouTube videos and learning all I could learn. And I guess that was probably the highlight of whenever it all took place, and that's probably where my love of Nova came from, was just learning more about Guardians and the whole cosmic universe as far as Marvel goes.
I remember when they made the announcement that they were going to do Guardians of the Galaxy, and everyone was like, "What?
Yeah,
What?
nobody knew what it was.
Why are you doing this to us?" Like, because I mean, when they started the MCU anyway, Iron Man wasn't one of those top Marvel characters to begin with. Like, they had been shunted down. The Spider-Man and the X-Men were like generally like those number one and number two, and it was so funny when they announced Guardians, and they're like, it's just what is going through your minds, like, you're going to have a bomb. And then they they announced the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and some people are like, well, which Guardians of the Galaxy? Like the
Yeah,
1970s version,
like the
the
original, or
the newer, like the newer setup. And I crossed my fingers for the newer setup because I had read a lot of the cosmic stuff with them, and I was like, man, if they do it right, they can do so much. Like, they could have the Earth Marvel stuff going on, and then they could have a whole cosmic stuff set going on, and that would be awesome. And
yeah,
I'm
for real.
I mean, with Guardians 1 was so much better than I expected. Guardians 2 was good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with Guardians 3, which I like. I call it like the Asgardians of the Galaxy, because
Yeah,
Thor's going to be there. Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And I think too, like you said, everybody was like, "Wait, Guardians? What is Guardians? There's literally a tree that's going to be a superhero. What is this? And a raccoon? Like, what is going on? What are they thinking?" But like at the time, I guess like people, if it wasn't Batman or Superman, the people that wasn't into comics had no idea what was going on. Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe had taken off, and everybody was starting watching it. Iron Man is cool because he's a guy with a lot of money that buys stuff. But like whenever you're in the world of literally just a tree that fights stuff and a raccoon that rides on his shoulder and shoots guns, like that's probably so foreign to people that in their minds are like, this is going to be a flop. And then Marvel just takes it and like excels so much with it. And I would say that it's probably definitely my favorite.
Okay. Of the and obviously 2020 like made a lot of changes, not just for Marvel, but with a lot of like different companies and movies and TV shows. And 2020 was the year that nothing from Marvel came out, whether it was the movies or TV series. Is there a new Marvel movie that you're looking forward to coming out, like of the ones that they've like announced so far?
I don't really know for sure. I don't even really know what's coming out, to be honest, David.
That's okay. There's a lot, especially with it being pushed back. Like, everything's just waiting now. Like, we're just
Yeah,
waiting on pins and needles. When is it going to come out? Is it going to go to Disney Plus? Is it going to go to video on demand first and then go to Disney Plus?
I'm probably most excited, and I've googled this for like ever. Like, when is Nova going to be in the MCU?
Oh my gosh,
Like
yes.
that's probably my biggest question and my biggest anticipation. I'm also kind of excited to see what they're going to do with the Black Panther series. Since Chadwick Boseman passed away, I kind of want to know what they're going to do with that, and I'm also excited to see what they're going to do with Captain America. Like once he's gone, hopefully, um, Falcon takes over, which I guess he gave him the shield at the end of the movie. I kind of hope it goes down that path with that comic run, and I feel like it will, and that's probably where my excitement sits.
I agree across the board with you. I know that like one of the shows I'm looking forward to is Falcon and Winter Soldier, just to see Sam adapting to the possibility of being Captain America, or
Yeah,
if there's going to be like that pushback like they have in like that comic run that I really enjoyed getting to read of him being Captain America.
yeah, I think that'll
Um,
be awesome.
and yeah, Black Panther, definitely there's a lot of stuff up in the air. I know that there's a talk recently of who the villain that was going to be in Black Panther 2 was, and they're like, no, we're not making it Namor because we don't want Namor to be the one that like essentially killed Black Panther. So we're not slotting him in as a bad guy because he's like he walks that line of good character, bad character.
Yeah, yeah.
And dang, if Nova is like that character where I wanted like a glimpse of him in Guardians of the Galaxy. I wanted something like, give me the Nova Corps.
Yeah.
Give me Richard Rider, please.
I remember like reading that John C. Reilly was going to be Ramonde, and I'm like, wait, what? So they're actually doing this? And then, like Guardians 2, I'm like, okay, there's going to be a glimpse of Nova. Richard Rider's going to be in this. And then the only thing like that you've seen that was even close to that was in Thor Ragnarok. There was a Beta Ray Bill statue that somebody had noticed. And I'm like, okay, well, if we get Beta Ray Bill in the MCU, can we get Nova in the MCU? Like, I mean, we're getting closer.
Right. It's like those little steps, like at the end of what is it? Spider-Man Far From Home, and Nick Fury is in space with the Skrulls, and you're like, okay, please, like I know that they've announced like 50 movies already, but please start announcing some stuff in the cosmic.
Yeah, for real. And then like all the Sony deals that's went over and stuff, like you just have to like dive into all that stuff, like, and then you're just like, there is an endless possibility that they could go, but it's like, will it happen the way that I want it to?
Yeah, that is definitely the thing. Will it? Because I know from like obviously being on the internet, half the people are going to like what the decision is, and the other half are going to be like, what? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing with the internet, like in general. I feel like it doesn't matter what they do, there's going to be the people that are like loving it, and then there's going to be the people that hate it no matter what. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes.
Oh yeah, that is everything. I don't even get into it anymore. It's too much. It's too overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I got to the point too where it was like, this isn't exactly like the comic, because like that's what I would want, was I would want the movie to like be exactly like the comic. And then I got to the point of like, it's not exactly like the comic, but it's still great. Like I still enjoy this. And it kind of like took a while for me to get there, because you expect it to look the way you think in your head, and you're like, oh, I know this is what this happens and this should happen next. But then you're like, but they also are in their job position for a reason. Like they know what they're doing. And obviously the MCU has really done a good job as far as taking every story and just making it incredibly good. So I guess at a point, like you have to trust them. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like the people who have been doing like the stories and the show running of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, people they need to look to that for when they're doing certain other properties. And I'll point my fingers at, say, like the Star Wars people should have been in that same group. Like they should have had a set plot for 7, 8, 9, or the DC people when they're doing their Justice League and the people around those movies. It's like, it's so disconnected that when it comes time for the movies, you're just like, I don't see it. It's not like integrated as well as the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, like, and it's absolutely insane the way that they've taken it. And I don't know if it's just the way my brain works or what, but like I honestly do not like watching DC movies. I don't know, I probably step on a lot of toes, but like I remember the last DC movie I even watched was Batman versus Superman. And then Martha happened, and I was like, I just can't do it anymore. Like I was like, I'm throwing in the towel. I give up. And I know there's a lot of good movies, but I don't know. For me, that one, I probably shouldn't be like that, but that one done me in.
I have to say, I'm not like a super big DC person, whether it's comics. I like the TV series or animated stuff that they do. I happened to watch that movie, and I didn't realize it was like the extended version of it that's an extra 30 something minutes long.
Wow.
And I was like, oh gosh, when will it end?
Like I fully expected it to, be good. But like I guess in my brain, like starting off with the MCU, obviously, like that being my first thing, like I enjoy the humor. Like that's probably why I like Guardians so much, is because Chris Pratt is hilarious to me. And like going from that to just everything being dark and Batman and
Hmm.
stuff, like I don't know, it was just, I guess, different. It's like a kind of like a culture shock in a way, but I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it as much. Now I do like some DC characters, as far as like the underwritten ones that you don't really hear a lot of unless you're into the some of the comics, like Nightwing and Martian Manhunter. I love Martian Manhunter. Like
Hmm.
those are cool, but it's like for every movie they're always like, but Batman, but Superman. But, oh, let's redo Batman. And I don't know. For me, I'm just like, that's why I like the MCU, because they're like expanding it.
That is absolutely like 100% correct. I know my only problem with the MCU was when they paired with Sony to do Spider-Man. I was like,
Yeah,
please don't let it be Peter Parker. Please just give it to Miles. We've
yeah,
had like 5 Spider-Man movies with Peter Parker. Just let it be Miles. And fingers crossed with what they've got coming out on like Disney Plus with Kamala Khan and some of the other like younger superheroes that they've been mentioning. I'm like, Miles, let it be Miles.
yeah,
And even with I think as the first one, Homecoming, is that like Miles's uncle
yeah.
is in
Within,
there. Donald Glover
yeah,
is the uncle, and I'm like, oh gosh, please let this be a
yeah.
Miles in the future thing.
And then you got the Miles Morales DLC coming out for the PS5, which I know it's not the exact same thing, but like it still, like it brings back remembrance. You're like, okay, so we could probably put him in the MCU because people know about him now. Like it's okay, we can put him there. And and I'm like you, like whenever they showed his uncle in that movie, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be awesome. They can put him in there. And whenever they had announced that they were going to do another Peter Parker run, I remember all the memes of like, if I have to see him cry over his uncle one more time, I'm probably just going to leave the theater.
Yeah, how many times are we gonna kill Uncle Ben?
And I will just say this too, like I was a huge Andrew Garfield fan as far as Spider-Man goes. And I was kind of sad that Andrew Garfield didn't go in the MCU. I know people have mixed feelings about it, but like he was one of my favorites.
I think only saw the first movie that he did. I don't think I ever saw the second one.
His suit in the second one was next level. I'm a huge like big eye Spider-Man fan. Like the bigger the eyes, like if they take up his whole mask, like that's my favorite. I like that run.
That's awesome. I'll have to check it out. Now, you mentioned talking to Ashley and talking to her about Nova, and I just now we're going to transition into like, so you met Ashley, and now you're in this whole new world, and you like I always joke on the podcast that I send out these surveys and people are to write back about like what you're into and favorite characters, and you're like, Ashley got me into everything else.
Yeah, basically. Basically. So like whenever I met her, like I said earlier, she was huge into Final Fantasy. And that was, due to her brother. Like her brother was, I think, 10 years older than her or something like that. And he played all the Final Fantasy games, and she wanted to be like him because he was her older brother. She wanted to outdo him and be like him. So she would play all the Final Fantasies too. Well, that grew into, as she got older, she was playing the Final Fantasies and all the video games, all the Nintendo games, Legend of Zelda and stuff like that. And I never even owned a GameCube. So like my extent of playing any video game was for Christmas every year. I asked for the new Madden game and the new NCAA football game. That was literally the extent of my video game knowledge. So whenever I got with her, she was like, "Have you ever played this game?" I'm like, "Nope." "Ever play this game?" "Nope." And we would play like Super Mario Brothers on the Wii, and I'm like, "I never played this, maybe once or twice." And I don't know, growing into this as an older person rather than having the nostalgia, it's fun, but it's kind of like scary at the same time, because I'm like, do I want to go back and play Final Fantasy VII and everybody have square hands? But I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that I've got to experience it from a different angle rather than just having the nostalgia.
Yeah, it's definitely something, and I speak from. I remember going to get like the original Nintendo back in the mid '80s, like That's like I go all the way to that part, and I remember like the nostalgia I had, and now with my kids, and they have access to like the old games on the Switch, and they're playing like Excite Bike or Super Mario, and they're like, I don't like it. The graphics aren't good, and I'm like, how dare you talk about these games like that?
And it's kind of funny because like whenever we were playing games together, like I'll be like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. And she's like, it's because of graphics, ain't it? I know it's because of graphics. I'm like, I don't have the nostalgia like you do. Like I can't transport back to 8-year-old me and be like, I remember this being so fun because I just didn't have that. And I think probably the most prime example for me was the Super Mario 3D All Stars that released. We played Sunshine, and I just couldn't do it. Like for me, I couldn't control Mario. I could not. I'm not good at platformers anyway. So I kind of let her stream that game by herself, and I would just kind of chat and I would attempt what little bit I could, but I just couldn't do it. And can I just say that kudos to everybody that played any old game ever and 100% and stuff back whenever you all were that young, because those games were difficult.
I stopped playing when Mario went 3D. It's there's something where like I can play basic games, but I tend to go for the ones like old school platformers or or old school like Final Fantasies. Like the new Final Fantasy 7 remake, I can't play because it's too actiony, just like Kingdom Hearts. I can't do like those action adventure style games. I
Yeah.
have to do like turn based, let me think about what I want to do. Okay, I've made my decision. Go forth and do it, and then let me have my turn. In another few seconds, let me have my turn again.
So that's literally probably the first thing, like shockingly wise as far as us playing video games was Final Fantasy 15 released. We'd been dating for I don't know, 2 years, and I'm like, oh, I'm excited. This looks amazing. And Ashley was all pumped. She's like, it looks beautiful. That was the first Final Fantasy game she played since 14, and she didn't get to play that one as much as she wanted. So 15 released. I absolutely loved it. Like I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like it was so good. I had so much fun playing it. And like we beat it, and we had a good time with it. And I'm like, that's probably like the best game ever. Like this game's incredible. And she's like, nah, the story's not there. And I'm like, what? Like I almost cried. What are you talking about? And I'm like, I thought it was great. And she was like, you need to go back and play 7. So, after playing 7, I understand. I actually haven't beat all of it, but I pretty much know the ending. I've been spoiled on it, but I can see where people are coming from. And I actually played Final Fantasy X and beat that one all the way through. And we cried on the way to church one day, like after we had beat it. And I'm like, yep, 15 story wasn't there, but still me liking the new graphics and being introduced like as a newer fan. I'm like, yeah, I still like 15. I can't help it.
I tend, especially with the Final Fantasies, I tend to go towards the more classic like fantasy ones. Like seven's okay, but there's like too much technology for
Yeah,
me, and
yeah.
eight is like way too far.
Sci-fi, yeah.
So like my favorites are 4, which was back on the Super Nintendo, which it was 2 back in the day, but 4 in the numbering wise. But
Yeah.
then I love 10 and I love 9. Like those are my favorite 3.
So 9 is actually Ashley's favorite, and I have beat it all the way through, and I'm almost the exact opposite of you. Like, I like the techie stuff of 7. I like the Machina in 10, which is kind of more fantasy wise, I guess, too. And I love the tech in 15. Like, I guess just where I never got to experience like the magical side of things. Like, I like the fantasy as far as technology too. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to see like how everybody has that different preference. Like the Final Fantasy 16 trailer dropped and we watched it, and I'm like, this looks like the coolest thing ever. Like this is insane. And Ash was like, I don't know, it just don't feel like Final Fantasy to me. And it's interesting how we both like it's the same game series, but we both have two totally opposite like view sides on it where I had jumped into it later than her.
Oh, absolutely. And there's looking back, there's totally that disconnect between the like my age group that played Final Fantasy up through the Super Nintendo days, which ended with Final Fantasy VI, and then once Final Fantasy moved to the PlayStation, and it was like Final Fantasy VII was on that. That's like a whole like the next generation. I remember was like oh my gosh, Final Fantasy VII is like the best game ever, and
Yeah.
that's obviously continued because Square's like, how many times will we put this out there and then make spin-offs of Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VII? Uh, so it's definitely like there's that mixture. I remember when 9 came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're going back to their roots of like fantasy and not like the futuristic. But I like, especially with 10, I like the integration between the fantasy aspect, but also like with the Albed and the Machina and
Yeah.
what they've got going on. Like I like that integration of both. Like it's a good balance for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I actually just beat that one last summer. So it was probably the first just straight, turn-based RPG I'd ever beaten, other than, I kind of speed ran 9. Like I turned on the 9,999 damage to where I could just speed it. And Ashley was like, you have to experience the game. That's why you didn't like it. You didn't experience it as much. But for 10, like just being able to play it, and I guess having like the newer style graphics to where it wasn't like square hands, but also having like the turn based and the story driven game, it really, really like sucked me in, and we were addicted to it for a while.
Now, one of your other games, and I know back in November, December, and we're actually recording this in December for January, just to make that call out. But you have been playing Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild on stream,
Yeah.
and I as a classic gamer will fully admit I've never liked Zelda. I've never played Zelda. Like I played like the original one for Nintendo. I've never gotten into them. Like I said, I'm not good with like the action adventure, uh, just combat and 3D wise. I jokingly picked up Breath of the Wild when it was on sale. I'm like, I'm going to stream this game just so people can watch me die over and over and over again because I am not good. But it's been fun watching you play, and just like running around or doing the challenges or just trying to find the shrines or the locations. And I definitely enjoy seeing what you are putting out there.
So I would say that Breath of the Wild is probably my favorite game I've ever played in my entire life. Like saying that now after I kind of have playing some of the older ones, not Zelda games. That's actually the only Zelda game I've ever beaten. But playing like some of the other series that were out, it's probably takes the cake of my favorite game of all time. And I remember like, so I liked the trailer just because it was pretty. Like I thought this game looks amazing. It's different. Like the graphics are awesome. And I remember picking it up and we were playing it, and we lived with Ashley's mom at the time. So like we would kind of hook it up in the living room. It was kind of like being a kid again. Like we would hook it up in the living room and everybody'd have to be asleep and we'd go play. And I would just be engulfed for hours, like just running around. Like I remember just climbing mountains just to look around, like just climbing mountains and walking around. And like that was probably the first time in a long time I'd ever been engulfed by a game, like just to the point of like this is insanely good. And with the lore of Breath of the Wild, like usually I'm not into the whole castle thing, like the castle themes and like kings and queens and stuff. And it's not really like that, but in a way, like in my mind, it kind of correlates the two. But for some reason, that game just really like sucked me in. And I know we were recording this in December, and you said we don't know if we'd be playing it in January. It feels like to me we played until January of 2024 just because I could spend the whole time playing it, running around, and I'm so excited for Breath of the Wild too. Um, it was just interesting being like captivated by a game like that, just because like it was fun, it had an awesome story, it gave you like the option, like if you want to get all the memories, you can. If you want to literally go fight Ganon straight out the gate, you can. Like I never really experienced that, playing a Madden game. So it was very interesting playing that.
It's definitely one of the things, and it's probably one of the reasons on it, like besides like wanting to stream it just to have a death counter of people watching me die, was there are certain games that have been put out there, whether it's like Breath of the Wild or like Elder Scrolls Skyrim, where there's that aspect of I can take my character somewhere just to experience the beautiful like scenery that they have put out in this game. And I love that aspect of those kind of adventure games where it's more of like a sandboxy like once you get past a certain part, just go forth and do what you want to do. And just exploring in that setting is one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I love that too. And like, so if you would have asked pre Ashley Dusty if I would have played that game, I'd have been like, probably not. It's not realistic enough for me. So like being able to jump into the Nintendo games now and like appreciating the cartoony style, like can still be beautiful rather than having the super realistic graphics where everything is like a piece of grass has like like a drop of dew on it. Like playing that Nintendo beauty, it really let me appreciate the game more. I guess just because I never really experienced it, just because I never tried it. And then trying it and just running around and being like, this is insane. Whoever made this needs a raise.
Now, you also, I know, we have been streaming or playing Pokemon, Sword/Shield. Was that another thing that Ashley got you into, or was it something that you both kind of got into together?
So she's always been into Pokemon. I had never been into it until Pokemon Go released. And then we probably wasted a tank of gas every single night playing Pokemon Go whenever it first released. I would literally worked at Kroger at the time and come home from Kroger. Me, Ashley, and our two friends would go out, and I mean, we would be out until 3 and 4 in the morning, and we would do it again the next day. Like that was our life. In what was it, 2016? Like that's
Yep.
all we did, and that was my entrance to Pokemon. Like total. That was the only thing I'd ever done with it, and I feel like a lot of people that's the way they were introduced. And then we went on vacation that following summer, or was it? It was that same summer we went on vacation, and we actually bought 2DSs and Pokemon Red and Blue, and I did not finish it. But whenever they released Pokemon Sword and Shield, I was like, "Oh, this looks really good. You know, we should get it." And Ashley, obviously she was ready to. She had already pre-ordered it probably. We played it, and I really loved it. And I was like, I should probably play the other ones, but I have not got around to that yet. But I do love Sword and Shield, and being someone that doesn't have the nostalgia of Red and Blue, like I have nothing to complain about with Sword and Shield. Whereas like other people are like, nah, it's not like Red and Blue. For me, like I love it. Like, and I'm kind of glad that I got into games later, just because I get that appreciation more so than having the nostalgia and not looking back at the other games and be like, but it's not like this.
Right.
I just get the appreciation for it. And ask me again in 15 years with a new game that comes out, I don't know what I'll tell you.
Back in my day for
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild 1.
There'll be a new Zelda game released in 20 years. I'll be like, this ain't Breath of the Wild. It's not good.
Yep. Yep. That is definitely something. I joked around. I think I was talking to Rosie Poo about it because I had started with Pokemon Yellow, and then I jumped from Pokemon Yellow to like Pokemon Sun and Moon for the 3DS. And I'm like, there's like 500 more Pokemon, and I have no clue who they are. There's new types that I don't know, like which types go well against each other, and there's Pokemon breed, like all sorts of stuff. It was like the hardest thing to wrap my head around, and even now when I watch people stream Sword and Shield, I'm like, I don't know. Like, why is there a Pokemon that looks like a building? I don't get it.
Why is this Pokemon an apple? Why is he a garbage can? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, like back in my day, like they were like creatures mixed with other creatures, and it worked. Or like weird things that maybe came out of a factory due to like some wacky combination, like what the magnet ones. And I'm like, okay, like I get that. Or the Pokeball looking ones, like okay, they've come to life, but now you have building ones.
Yeah, it is different. And like it's kind of funny too because Ashley's brother is, like I said, 10 or so years older than her. And like even talking to him about it, he's like, I can't even hop on Sword and Shield at all because I'm just like, there's a trash bag Pokemon. Like I cannot play this game. It's kind of funny, but I'm like, I think it's fun. I love it.
What are some of the games that have surprised you since you've gotten into gaming? Like what are the games that you're like, oh, I didn't think you'd like this, but then you fell in love with it or really just enjoyed playing it?
So probably I would say the very first one and probably the main one that popped into my head was Paper Mario the Origami King. That game for me was 10 out of 10. And that was another one I know had mixed reviews because everybody was like, this one wasn't like Thousand Year Door. And I'm like, I didn't even know there were other Paper Mario games until this one. So for,
Yes.
for me, we streamed that game and like, I don't know how a piece of 2D paper on a video game can tear your heartstrings out, but that game emotionally wrecked me. And I would have never imagined that game being good. Like, but it was probably one of my favorite games that's ever came out ever.
I watched a streamer stream that game relatively like to the point where I watched the entire game on his stream. And when we got to that part, and I don't want to spoil it
Yeah, that
because
part.
I think one of the other things was that no one was expecting a new Paper Mario game. It wasn't like something that they had really talked about or advertised, and then they're just like, "Hey, surprise! There's a Paper Mario game, and it's coming out now."
Yeah.
So, like,
By the way.
but but that story, like especially with the characters and the emotional beats, and then to get to that part, and like the person that I was watching was like, I need to take a moment,
Yeah,
like
like, it was
because
that big.
it was just it was something that you're not expecting in a Mario game to begin with, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, like it's just a lot.
yeah, and yeah, I'm like you, I never expected, like, for 1, a Mario game, and for 2, it's about pieces of paper, like, I'm just like, "How does this" like, I'm crying over a piece of paper that looks like Mario, like, how am I so emotionally, like, attached to this piece of paper? That blew my mind. Um, yeah, that one definitely shocked me. And I remember when it came out, like, my buddy messaged me and he was like, "Are you gonna get Paper Mario?" And I'm like, "Probably. I don't know what it is, but yeah." And then, like, I did not expect it to be one of my favorite games, but, like, it has been one of my favorite games I've ever played.
Not only is it like an incredible story that they have, I really enjoyed watching the battle system and getting to see like how people like approached like the battles and went through it.
Yeah, I never experienced a battle system like that. Like, it was totally different and foreign to me. Because for one, I'm not a good turn-based battler. I'm not really a good battler at all, but I've definitely never had that turn-based experience. So, like, playing something, like, totally brand new to me and then having, like, that extra oomph on top of it, like, it was very interesting, and I enjoyed that a lot. Other than the final boss, I almost raged on because it was so difficult for me.
Now with I know you're looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2. Is there any other games on the horizon that you've got your eye on that you're like, I want to check this out?
We actually have Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, but we have not got to play it yet. That one's I know it's basically not basically Breath of the Wild, but the same lore and the same story. I'm excited to see the backstory for that one. That one's probably number one on my list, other than Breath of the Wild 2. Other than that, probably Spider-Man Miles Morales. I absolutely love Spider-Man PS4. I thought it was amazing. That was another game I got engulfed with. I would say those two are probably my top two that I'm excited for.
Okay.
Which I think Miles Morales is out now, but I have not picked it up yet.
Yeah, Miles Morales is out for PS4 and the PS5. I have seen people stream the PS5 version, and they have and just as a cool little thing is that they use the Into the Spider Verse animation for Miles, like when he's in his suit, and it looks phenomenal.
That's awesome. So whenever they announced that, I was super hyped for it. I didn't know if it was a new game or like a DLC or what, but I remember my like face playing the end of Spider-Man PS4, like whenever Miles was talking to Peter and he was like, "Some weird things have been happening," and Peter's like, "Uh-oh." He's like, "Well, yeah, you're going to experience," and he's like, "No, you don't understand." Like, and then he jumps up on the wall, and then Peter's like, "Oh yeah, you ain't the only one." That, like, jumps up on the wall. I was like, "Yes, this is so cool." So I'm excited to play that one.
Yeah, I think it clocks in about like a 20-hour game because it is its own game. It's like not a DLC, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
like it's a 20-hour, like I think it runs 20 hours, which is why I know the PS5 version I think is 40, and a lot of like the PS5 games are like 60, 70. So it's like a little bit cheaper because it's not a longer game.
Okay, well, that's awesome. I see. I didn't even know that.
The more you
Yeah,
know.
the more you know.
And I do have to say I love that you shouted out NCAA football
Yeah,
for games because I I'm not a big sports gamer, and I don't like Madden. I find Madden, like, extremely fast,
Yeah.
but I loved NCAA college football. Like,
Oh my
every
god.
year I would buy the new version because obviously, like, you've got the teams changing, but I always loved how, especially with college football, like, one game can make or break your entire year that you're
Yeah.
doing, and it's fun recruiting and doing, like, the little school visits and stuff.
So, like, I've always been a huge college football fan, like, ever since I was a kid. Growing up in West Virginia, everybody was a WVU fan, and then whenever I got in high school, I was like, "I don't really like WVU," so I started cheering for TCU, and everybody was like, "Why now? Like, why do you like TCU now?" So, like, playing those games to me was insane, and, like, as a kid, I played football, and that was, like, that was the only thing I did, like, that was literally what my world revolved around, and I remember making a character on NCAA, taking them through high school, taking them through a championship, taking them to, the college championship. And I literally turned the sliders up to where I just, destroyed the game. And then, you transfer them over to Madden. And it was just, those games were some of the best games. And I actually think I saw a petition out a while back to bring back NCAA football. And I would be 1000% behind that. I loved those games.
I did too. I loved it because unlike Madden, again, it felt slower, so I could take my time. But just college football, the games always matter, and the recruiting matters. And I did the same thing. I'm like, okay, I don't run defense, but I can run offense, and I'm gonna get my quarterback and my running back to get like every record and get
Yeah.
the Heisman and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So me and my friend actually in high school, we went back to like NCAA 13 and made every single character a character from our actual football team and made like an actual like high school team that was our high school and imported a logo and like you could actually import your own team's logo onto the game. And I actually think it's still floating around out there somewhere where Dusty is out there on some random NCAA football team game.
That's awesome.
That was one thing that was fun about it too, is like it gave you options. And I think even now, like the latest sports games that I've played was, I don't know, like probably the latest one I played was like 17 or 18, and you don't even have the ability to customize a team anymore. And if you go back on like my Xbox original like teams, there was probably like 15 to 30. That's all I did.
Yep. Yep, I always used to slot in my college. I would take out like Vanderbilt at the
Yeah.
SEC because like it's Vanderbilt,
Yeah.
and you like I had my team in there. It's like, okay, let's go.
That was probably my favorite thing to do as a kid was just create stuff. Like, and now me and Ashley are wedding photographers and videographers as a full-time job. Like that kind of correlates, like not exactly in a way, but like it's both, being creative because I could never draw or make music or anything like that. So like for me, I would spend hours just creating multiple characters to play on the game. And like Ashley will watch me do that, and she's like even whenever Fallout 76 came out, like I spent so long just customizing my character, and she was like, "I don't get it. Like, just put brown hair on him. He looks like you. Just go." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Like, he has to look perfect." It's kind of funny, like looking back of how much customization I actually did on video games.
Oh, absolutely, and I mean that's like half the fun is once you customize them, then you get to play with them
Yeah,
for the time. I always used to be pissed when they were like, okay, we're leaving for the NFL. It's like, what?
yeah. Like, excuse me.
How dare you? Like, you're me.
Yeah. What do you mean you're leaving? I'm still here in my bedroom. It's 12 o'clock and I'm not out of bed yet. What are you talking about?
Your love of video games and obviously Ashley as someone that brought you kind of into the world, and you mentioned it at the beginning is that you Ashley was watching Twitch streams and you invested into the Twitch streaming, like the capture card and getting into it. What was the driving force behind to even do your own Twitch stream?
So actually, I was working at the hospital at the time. I went to college. I have an X-ray degree, and I was doing that. I'd done that for at the time probably about a year. And then I had a friend. There was a traveler that had came, and she streamed every now and then. And then my other friend at work actually bought a capture card and he started streaming Fortnite. It's Focal Spot. I think he's taking a break currently, but he was like, "This is amazing! Like, I love this." And then, Ashley was watching Crystal at the time at Simply Press Start, and I would come home from work and like she would have it on the TV, and like at the time, like we didn't know what lurk meant. Like I had no idea what that meant. Like exclamation point lurk. Like what is that? She literally just put it on the TV because for her it was someone there, and so she didn't feel alone whenever she was at her house while I was at the house while I was at work. So she would turn it on, as something to be there, and she enjoyed watching Crystal, and like it was cozy to her. So she was like, I think I want to start streaming. Like, I think that would be amazing. And, for us, like, that was the one thing we wanted to do. Like, we wanted to make communities who, maybe grew up in abusive homes or people that, didn't have people at home to talk to, like, to be able to come to us and, feel that same comfort level. And if they were lonely, like, to be able to be there. And like we're Christians, so we want to spread the love of Jesus to everyone. So like that was the driving force behind everything, was spreading the love of Jesus to people and being there for people, just to make them, like, if it just made them happier, like that was what we wanted to do.
Okay. So you got started, you got everything together. What was the first experience like when you kicked it on and you started your first stream?
We joke about that all the time. Like our very first stream we ever made, we FaceTimed our friend. We put our phone against, we only have one monitor to this day, put it against our monitor, and we just talked to him the whole time we streamed. And then our one friend from high school came in, and we literally, probably for 2 hours straight, talked about high school memories. And that was our first stream. And we joke sometimes, like going back to our first streams, I was so awkward. Like, because for me editing, wedding videos, I was used to, oh, I could cut this clip out and, cut it here and make it, look good here. So it's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. But like when you're live streaming, like you can't take it away. Like what you say is there. So it was very interesting, like whenever we first started, just because I'm awkward as a person anyway. And like being on the stream, I would be awkward, and I would know I'm being awkward. And I'm like, I've got myself down a rabbit hole, and I just keep saying words. Like I have to stop saying words at some point. So yeah, it was very awkward at first, but getting more comfortable talking to a camera really helped. And then we started a vlogging channel on YouTube, so that helped as well. Treating the camera as a person talking to, but it was very interesting and kind of funny going back.
One of the things that I think is unique, especially with how you and Ashley stream, is obviously you're there together, you're married, you're in the same room, and it allows, like, if you're playing the game, like Ashley is there to talk to chat
Yeah,
or like read chat out, or vice versa. If Ashley's playing the game, like you're there to do the thing. And I think that really adds like a whole different dynamic, not just because there's two different people that the chat is getting to interact with, but that it kind of takes the burden off of just like a single streamer where they're having to like stop or take a look at chat and have that interaction with, depending on the game that they're playing.
1000% yes. And I would just like to say right now, props to any streamer out there who doesn't have their husband or wife with him, because I don't know how y'all do it. When Ashley takes a bathroom break, I'm lost. Like, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm like, how do people do this for, like Hylian does it for 7, 8 hours a day? I'm like, how? Because if I'm playing a game, like, it's so hard for me to look over at chat and, keep up with chat, much less, play some crazy game that, you have to be super invested in, like, I don't know, Fortnite or, something crazy. It's really crazy how people do that, and kudos to you all. But I think it does add a different dynamic because, like, we are married. So, whether we get in an argument that morning, we still have to hop on stream. And we don't argue a ton, but like if we have a, minor disagreement because the dishes wasn't washed, we, still have to hop on stream. And Ashley said this the other day in Mercoletta's stream that, I think it's actually helped us because once we get down here in the stream, we get to see the best versions of each other. So whether we, had a minor disagreement about something completely stupid that, married couples disagree on, It's nice to know that, like, you still have that best version of yourself while you're streaming. And, you can see that best version of your spouse while they stream and be like, you know what? I can wash the dishes after stream. It's not a big deal.
Absolutely. It's just something that I know that I enjoy watching the two of you talk back and forth and then talking to chat. And I've always felt bad, like especially not in your stream, but in other people's streams where I've asked a question and I know that they're reading my question and it causes them to die. And I'm like, oh no, like I've killed you.
Yeah. Yeah, for real, because like if it's something like really like deep in the game, like even with both of us, we're both invested. We're like, hang on, chat, we'll be right there. And like, we're trying to do this thing. And yeah, it's very difficult as far as like reading chat, and just your brain has to keep up with everything. I guess you have to train your brain to do that. But it's very, very interesting, especially someone who had never even thought about doing anything like this before and then jumping into it. Um, it is pretty neat.
What's been your favorite game to stream so far?
My favorite game probably is honestly Paper Mario. And I know I mentioned that earlier, but that one and probably Breath of the Wild is probably my two favorite games I've ever streamed. Breath of the Wild, just because me and Ashley are goofy anyway, and like a lot of goofy stuff happens on that game, and it makes us laugh so much. Like one time I was climbing up a mountain and it literally took 30 minutes because it was raining and stuff. And then I get to the top of a mountain and there's this goat standing there. And I'm like, so help me, goat, do not knock me off this mountain. And then he just destroyed me and I fell down the mountain, and like, it was just hysterical. And that's probably my favorite thing. And then Paper Mario, just for the RPG style and the jokes in Paper Mario, just because we like to joke.
Mm-hmm. Is there, like, I know that when we were talking about video games, like you mentioned, like Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out at some point, and then Hyrule Age of Calamity. Are there games that are on your list that you're looking forward to streaming? Is it just those, or is there others that you're like, let's try streaming this game, maybe that's out of our comfort zone or out of what we would normally play?
Yeah, so definitely Breath of the Wild 2 and then Age of Calamity. But I also would like to go back and play some like older Zelda games, just to, say that I've played them, and, to experience like the old style of all the nostalgia that everyone feels. And even a lot of the older Nintendo games, like the older Super Mario's, like we beat Super Mario Sunshine. I'd like to go back and play Galaxy and maybe 64. Ashley would probably have to beat those while I watch because I couldn't do it. But it does give me an opportunity, like, to go back and play the older games that I never got to play, and it gives other people, the experience to watch those as well. But as far as the games that we're looking most forward to is probably Breath of the Wild 2 and Age of Calamity.
Okay. What's been your best Twitch streaming moment that you both have had?
The goat knocking me off the mountain was very hilarious. We have, as far as a specific moment, I can't think of one, but like as far as like a community building a dialogue that we understand, like we say easy game like a gazillion times a stream. And I don't know if like other people do that. I'm sure they do, but like, and just different ways that we type words, like we space between each letter at some points, and just like saying a bunch of goofy stuff and SpongeBob quotes, and like everybody gets it. It's just like building kind of like inside jokes with our community is probably my favorite thing, because that's what we wanted to start with anyway, was making people feel comfortable. And we always say, welcome to our radiant family. And that's really kind of what we want to be, is like, a big happy family, because for us, that's important both in real life and with our friends, and especially with our Twitch community, because I feel like, especially nowadays with technology, I've heard, I think Sadie Robinson say that we are the most connected and disconnected generation of all time. Like, if I want to talk to somebody from high school, like an old friend, I can shoot them a message on Facebook, but at the same time, like, I don't even really, talk to these other people at all. Like, we're so disconnected and connected at the same time that we want that family aspect for people to get and feel like they actually have people to talk to.
That is 100% something that, like, I know I always joke like I always have like guests on that are a lot younger than me, and I'm like, yeah, my generation is the generation like before the internet, and we experienced the internet coming out, and now we're in this like new internet age,
Yeah,
and it's definitely something where like my kids joke, like I always joke with my kids, I'm like, there weren't cell phones back when I was growing up. Like you had to have a phone that was connected to the wall, and there was no DVD players, there wasn't Netflix.
yeah,
um it was something where like if you missed a TV show, you just couldn't like go find it the next day. Like
yeah,
that was it. And it's definitely something where it's like connecting with my friends from high school. It's still like we have that connection, but it's not the same connection,
yeah,
obviously, as like an in person, or even if we wrote letters back and forth to each
yeah.
other, it wouldn't be the same. So yeah, it's definitely something where we're connected, but we're not connected.
Yeah, it's really nuts to think about because like even whenever I was a kid, and I'm a little younger than you, but like I remember not having a computer in our house. I remember having to get one for school because of a project. I remember, the phones on the wall. I remember like if I wanted to talk to my friend, I would go and dial them on the phone and talk to him for hours. If I wanted to, go to my grandma's house, my mom would take me down to my grandma's house. And I don't know, I just feel like now we're so like trapped to our devices. Like we don't make time to spend with our family and make like actual intimate, relationships with our family members. Instead, we're trying to create a facade of, who we want to be on the internet. And it's, for us, like that's one thing we want to be on Twitch was like we started off, we thought we had to look like this and we had to say this and do this thing and make this perfect. But and I think even more like as we grow as people, like I just want people, and Ashley does too, to see the real us. Like, and that's kind of like, so we used to label ourselves as a chill stream, and we are not chill because we're laughing and joking and being stupid all the time. So, like, it kind of took us, and honestly, we've listened to, a lot of podcasts, read books, read the Bible. Like, just being us is what we want to be. And we want people to know, like, it's okay if you're just you. Like, you don't have to look like this person on Instagram because they got 65,000 likes last month. Like, just be you. Like, that's okay. And that's one thing that family like accepts because you don't get to choose your family. They're just your family and they have to accept you. So, we want to accept everyone and, show them the love and let them know that, it's okay to just be them. Hang out with us, like laugh with us. It's okay.
Definitely. And now, if you have been listening to Dusty and you want to check out Dusty or Ashley on the Twitch stream or on the internet in general and become a part of the family, the Radiant family that they have started to build on Twitch, where can people go and find you, Dusty?
Oh my gosh, we have a multitude of things. I feel like you can find us at Our Radiant Gaming on Twitch. Um, we're there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 9 a.m. to 12. And then we also have a vlogging channel on YouTube called Our Radiant Adventure. And I would say that's the two that you can find us at the most. So yeah, if you want to check us out there. If you type Radiant, that's us. Everything we have is Radiant.
Awesome. I'll have the links in the show notes as well as on the Facebook page and the website. So if you're listening and want to check them out, just click on the link, give them a follow, whether it's on Twitch or Instagram or YouTube. Subscribe, do all the cool things so that way you get notified when they go live and see what they are playing next. And Dusty, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your evening to come and record this with me today.
Well, thanks for asking me to be on, man. I had so much fun.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.